Oops. Okay, we're good. Good evening. Today we are going to do something. Hello? Oh, there we go. Okay. Today we're going to do something interesting, or interesting. I say interesting, but really it's just because I'm too lazy to think of one particular topic to talk about. So we're just going to spend some time playing against the computer, who will probably kick our bottoms, and just chat, see how things are going. One of the one of the responses I had from last time, where I was essentially insulting all of the listeners by implying they couldn't do math, was that I can't do it either, and therefore I should shut the hell up. And you know, the person shall go unnamed, but yes, you do have a point. The difference, though, between you and I is that I went to a university with an actual engineering program. I graduated of said engineering program, and therefore I have the ability and the, shall we say, background to understand the algorithms and the mathematics. Should I choose to? In particular, I understand the algorithms. I just haven't delved into the mathematics of the weightings, and that's a different concept compared to. We'll take this up in person. Anyway, so the idea behind today is we're just going to play the game, chat, and see where the computer will, how the computer will respond, and whether we can keep this advantage that we have. I think it was a 63% advantage. Whether we can keep that going forward, or whether the computer will completely destroy us. We shall evaluate. I guess once the stream itself hits 15 minutes, and go from there. Actually, 13 minutes for post destruction analysis. But yeah, so I've played this game casually for a long time, but because I've never really. Oh, that's interesting. Look at this. The computer has by now played 4,000 games and seen that this move itself is the most economical move, and one that'll help it live the longest. Oh, let's see if E17 is indeed what it suggests for white it is. Okay. Protocol version G17. Ah, I see. Okay. Okay, interesting. So E17 is from 58,000 games. So essentially the computer is saying, as of right now, if it were us, it would go here. And there are reasons for that. Personally, I had thought of going in the 7-5 position, which is not E17. Well, is it E17? Let's see. E17 is here. Oh, it's counting. Okay. So E17. So personally, I had thought of going G15. Let's see if G15 is not even in the list. Oh, that's beautiful. That means we're we're really bad. So let's go. Yeah, so I've personally played this game for a long time, since I was 5 basically, and I've never really advanced beyond the beginner stage. And at one point I like to think that I was a amateur 1D player, but I don't think I actually ever made it up that high. So this will be a learning experience as much for me as it is for some people who I will continue to not name. Anyway, so you know, it's always been amazing to me that AI like this, that we would that technology, human technology, would actually progress along this particular route much quicker than any of the other available routes. So by that I mean that human technology would advance along the AI or the software route much quicker than say for example flying cars or nuclear fusion on or all of that. But in some ways it makes a lot of sense because technology like AI really is it makes use of a lot of, how do I even say it? It makes use of a lot of, it makes use, all of its hardware is pre-existing, right? So AI exists in this interesting little space where we are leveraging existing fundamental technologies to do something completely novel. Whereas things like either flying car or fusion that I mentioned before, these aren't, right? Like these don't really they demand completely, yes, they demand also completely new sciences, but they also demand completely new technologies. And that makes it a lot more difficult to actually enact any amount of, shall we say, any amount of spontaneity? No. No, I don't want to say spontaneity. I want to say, essentially, what I want to say is AI is something that can be done by a lot of people with very little need to set up a completely new laboratory. I mean, yes, you do have to set up a new laboratory, but really the things you need, you can buy off the shelf. So, computers. If you want to go hardcore in simulation, not simulation, in training a neural network, you can rent. There's enough computing power out there to be rented for most amateur researchers, right? If you want, really, B14? That is interesting, because my first response would have been to here or here, because we want to close off our but B14 implies a sort of, oh, so B14 implies that you're going to have to fight over the left side quite a bit harder, and the engines think that that's, oh no, okay, you see 61%. Yeah, okay, we're good. Because with AI, it's much easier to essentially get off the ground running, right? Like if you want to develop a fusion, how many billions worth of dollars are we putting into like the ITER project, for example, in France? It's almost nonsensical how much money we have to put into it because of all the new technologies that not only have to be developed, but that have to be implemented, right? With things like fusion, the supporting technology is still extremely expensive. But with things like AI, the supporting technology is literally already being commoditized for, can we say the average Joe? Yeah, let's say the average Joe. The average person, right? I'm not saying that the average person is using in this case, I'm not saying that the average person is using AI, but the average person is using the same, for example, Amazon cloud system that we would use to um, to to run AI, but they're using it for who the fuck knows, man, TikTok, right? Or well, not YouTube, because YouTube has to build its own stuff, but the point remains that it's so commoditized, like the hardware itself is so commoditized that it's almost trivial to be able to. Should I do that? Should I go down here? It's almost trivial to actually use that equipment to do the same AI research and to have that ability to do AI research. We can't do this because then the center will go to black, so we have to do some. Essentially, there needs to be a fight that happens here that eats into black's territory. Otherwise, this is too much room. This room, let's say all the way up to here, from here, would be more than equivalent for this. And we can't really have that. So let's give them something to think about. Oh, the engines didn't like that move. Yeah, the engines didn't like that move. Anyway. Yeah, so that's why tech is the tech industry, programming, gaming can move at such rapid paces, and why all these lovely software startups can just churn on and come up with an idea, iterate on it, and sell in like a year, right? And why things like oh, my boy Newman, and why things like WeWork were so was so desirable when it was a thing, because it is a hardware company, a hard asset company being run like a tech company. So being able to iterate on such quick amounts of D5. Interesting. Anyway, on that's why because Newman ran his hard asset company as a software company, and that's what made people so excited by it. See, I don't actually like that move that much, because now suddenly I've helped Black close this off, and that's probably not the right thing to do now that I think about it. So if we go back one step and start from here, where would be an alternative where I could actually eat into Black's territory without it feeling ridiculous? What if I did this? Right, and speaking of Adam Newman and WeWork, it was such a interesting phenomena, because yeah, as we said, he ran a hard asset, essentially he ran a landlord like a tech company, and that got enough people excited that excitement drove the valuation, and our boy Masayoshi Son drove that valuation to the point where it became untenable. And when they tried to file for IPO, imagine going imagine going from IPO to bust, or not bust, but like close to bust, in the span of 2 months. That implies that there was nothing before that IPO. And I mean, I think most people agree that yeah, there was nothing before that IPO. Ooh, interesting. Now we're talking an actual fight, but it's now 14 minutes and 42 seconds. So let's wrap it up. We unfortunately the I'll edit this afterwards. We didn't actually get to talk about much besides AI and laughing at WeWork, but I feel like that's a pretty good use of 15 minutes of our lives. So yeah, um, it turns out that we've essentially played the engine's game, and whenever we move away from what the engine has predicted, we have suffered. So is that an analogy for life? That would be interesting. But no, it's not. No, it's not an analogy for life. It just happens that not the heuristic, but the neural engine that's underpinning this Lita Zero is is hardcore enough to have been trained well enough to know this game super well, and that's why it can do predict this particular position with and pretend it's got a 55% win chance. Anyway, that's it for today. In summary, let's save real quick. Oh no, I can save afterwards. In summary, don't use Chrome. Download Firefox. Really, don't use Chrome. Good night.